Hey, this is Cool Trains in Montreal, and I'm just showing off a couple of locomotives that I'm running here on my small N-scale layout. These are two CN locomotives, and they're SD75i locomotives that were built in London, Ontario. And they're General Motors locomotives, EMD products, built around 1996. So that makes them around 25 years old now. But they're still going pretty strong on CN. So you'll recognize these in any train that you see in Montreal area or anywhere on Canadian National. These locomotives will still be running around along with the GEVOs and the other GE products, and along with the other more modern EMD products that you see, the SD70M-2s especially. Yep, so these locomotives, I really like them. When they first came out, around what, 1999, I guess, Athearn made the model. Yeah, they were outstanding, and they still are outstanding because after all these years that they've been out, they run like, they purr like kittens. They're awesome. They're just as good as any other models I've ever had. And I've never done any maintenance or any lubrication to them, and they just run well. And on slow speed, they will run very, very good. Although I have noticed that on my module here, they will stall occasionally, but that's my fault for not maintaining the track probably. Because look at this speed on a well-maintained layout where you've washed the track with alcohol on a regular basis. Yeah, these things are going to be great. They look great too. So I'll also show off the new configuration of my buildings. These are scratch built, and actually not quite scratch built, but they are kitbashed buildings. The one here is a DPM, Design Preservation Models building, and it's two together actually. What I did is put the end and a side piece together to build a little bit slightly longer building. So people might recognize this. This is the back of the building. This one here, this is a standard sized building, and I didn't do anything special to it other than paint it. It's I forget the name of the company. I think Concord it is that makes this. I'm gonna have to check that out. But it's basically a storefront on an angle, just like that. And this building here is another DPM kit. All I did here is I take a lot of the back sides of the building and I cut it around to make it into an angled building. So there is a building that I made, another building that's all the storefronts. So you have an office building and here an industrial building. This is one way to get some interesting things out of what would be normally standard kits that you could just buy and that every other model railroader might have on their layout. In my case, what I've done is I've modified these kits to make them a little bit more my own. So, one other thing I want to mention here is these cars. So let's do a small rundown of these cars. So I'm going to move my locomotives so that you can get a good view of them. And the first one that I'm going to mention here is Ontario Northlands. Now this is a really neat car. You'll see these a lot in the Montreal area. A lot of the time they're going to be kind of, rusted or dirty. But yeah, this is a Northern Ontario Regional Railroad. Runs from, I guess, Cochrane or up. It goes as far as James Bay, basically. Moosonee is the name of the town at the top. And at the bottom, it goes, I think, to North Bay, where it connects with CN. So these cars are wood products and stuff like that, forestry products, whatever. A lot of that stuff comes out of Northern Ontario, and it's transported via cars like this, box cars, and you'll see also gondola cars with this chevron. They're very prevalent in the Montreal area. So this next car here is a Procore covered hopper, and it's a cylindrical covered hopper. This and also the ribbed covered hoppers in Procore are pretty much their staple of rolling stock. I've only seen basically hopper cars and tank cars um, in the Procore name, and Procore, as I found out from a website, is a Toronto-based leasing company. So it's kind of a Canadian icon of railroading. If you notice, a lot of cars will have this Procore name on them. So this one was a little bit harder to track down. Casco. This is a chemical company that, oddly enough, is related to PetroChina. And I found this out by kind of going down a rabbit hole on the internet. So it's just odd that it's a Canadian subsidiary, basically, of PetroChina. So these cars will service the oil patch in Alberta a lot. And I guess they'll carry lubricants for pipelines and stuff like this. Or at least that's what their website kind of says. So in the front here, you'll see two interesting cars. This Railgun. A lot of the time you'll see them still, but they're kind of ghosts because all of this is now owned by TTX, sorry, Trailer Train Corporation. It bought out this Railgun and Railbox. And you'll still see these gondola cars in the yellow kind of running around with TTX or Railgun, and it's kind of all rusted out and whatever. But this is what the original company was. It was a leasing company for rail cars, especially gondola cars, for railroads that didn't want to spend the money on their own, I guess. This car is really interesting. This is a dump car. And the car actually tilts to the left or right, and it dumps sand, gravel, stuff like that to the side of the track so that you could use it for building up a bluff or something like that, something to shore up the right of way. These cars are interesting in that you don't see them very often except in a right of way train. You'll see them often with the regular hopper cars that seem to have those chutes that run out to the side, and I'll show a couple of those in a future video. So I have a few more cars to show too, and trucks, mostly trucks. Here's the C cab of CP Transport. Now these were from basically the 70s, late 60s and 70s era, probably up into the 80s. And it was the trucking branch of CP, which is related to CP Rail and CP Air and the hotels and everything. Back when CP and Canadian Pacific was a holding company for a whole lot of different activities. But since they've sold off the railway and the hotels and everything like that, Canadian Pacific is now only for it's only now railroads, but it used to be a much bigger holding company. And this interesting stake truck too. This is kind of a pen. It's like a cattle pen on a C cab. I'm guessing that would be to take, like, cattle to auction or something like that. You don't see them too often, I don't remember seeing them too often in the city, but maybe people in the country would remember these more. Like I said, it's probably more for farm implementations and stuff like that. Here's my Max C cab dump truck. And the last thing I want to show here, second last thing I guess, is the Railbox car. Railbox, as I said, was an old corporation. Now you'll see these more modernized cars that say TTX. They're yellow like this. So they've bought out this company, and you'll still see some of these old Railguns as well. And they have inherited the same slogan here that says "Next road, any road." You'll see that on TTX cars as well. And yeah, TTX cars, they're the bright yellow, and they're in a lot of trains that I've filmed in the Montreal area. They have modern cars now, but these older 50-foot box cars, you can still see them. They're pretty dirty, and they are on their last legs, obviously. But yeah, they're pretty cool. And maybe I should also mention here this Illinois Central car. The Illinois Central was absorbed by CN, and they used to have these really orange cars, and you'll see a lot of those ghost cars around that are orange that say Illinois Central Gulf or IC or this big I, and you can't really read them sometimes. These cars are generally being painted into just the regular CN schemes. So this one will have the IC reporting marks, making it like the ghost that continues. And CN is just say this PS2 hopper car in this case. They're putting the CN logo and the website. And you'll see a lot of these cars. They're in very good shape, like they've been rehabilitated and everything like that. But yeah, this is the trend towards hopper cars and stuff like that were the old Illinois Central. Some also you'll see them gray with like a sort of a global logo, a sphere that's kind of like a stylized sphere. And yeah, they're out there. And the last one I guess I'll show here is this center beam car. Now, center beam cars, you see them a lot, and they have several different forms, but I only have one type here. I have 3 of these center beam cars that are actually lettered for Saint Marie something or other. So it's basically a Wisconsin Central car. But yeah, you'll see that lumber will be piled onto that thing, and the beam there is giving the structure of the car. And then there's the deck that's kind of suspended off of it. And there would be like little cables there to keep the load in place. So that's what you usually would see, the frame like this. And there's plenty of instances where you'll see empty cars like this in Montreal trains rolling along, and that's what they are. They're center beam flat cars. And these are long things too. They're like 70 feet. So yeah, they are very long. They're almost as long as passenger cars, really. Passenger cars are typically 85 feet, and these things are like 70, 72 feet. So they're one of the longer cars that you're going to see on railroads today. So thank you for watching, and as always, please subscribe to Cool Trains in Montreal if you enjoy what you saw. Have a good day.